This video is about how to become 2.0. And what does that mean exactly? Becoming 2.0 is you becoming a higher octave, a higher vibrational version of yourself. One that is more confident, more self-loving, one that doesn't procrastinate, one that knows what they want out of life and knows how to get what they want out of life. Becoming 2.0 is essentially you becoming the version of yourself that is thriving, not surviving, but thriving and living in your present moment, day to day, living the life that you truly want to be living. And when I talk about the life that you truly want to be living, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have millions and millions of dollars in the bank or that you live in a huge mansion, but it's more about creating a life for yourself that truly just is in alignment with your soul, with your heart, and with who you are as an individual. And there's nothing wrong with having millions and millions in the bank or living in a mansion, but that's not what everybody wants. And becoming 2.0 doesn't mean that that's the final destination or that's the main attainment that you want out of life. Because while having material things, and this is something I've come to understand, for the longest time I thought I really wanted to live in a mansion. And the more, I don't know if it's age, but it's like the older I get and the more wisdom that I accumulate on my journey of life, the more that I come to understand that what I really truly want at the end of the day is to live in peace and in harmony and to help others and to become the best version of myself where I'm most at peace within myself. Because I know and I understand that fundamentally, if I am at peace within myself, then I will be at peace with others as well. So becoming 2.0 is truly really high version of yourself, a high vibrational self, a very conscious version of yourself. And you can become that. Even if you feel like right now maybe you're not, a higher version of yourself or you're not the best version of yourself. Or even if you're feeling like you're not necessarily, where you want to be in life, whether that's financially, whether that's physically, whether that's with your relationships or whatever it may be. If you feel like there is something missing fundamentally within your life, or just in general that you are not thriving, you're merely surviving, and you're just kind of getting by day to day, and you find your day to day life to be mundane and uneventful and boring, then becoming 2.0 is like your way of stepping up. And this is a program I actually created over a year. So this took me a good solid year because of all of the research that I did, because of all of the accumulated experience that I gathered over coaching people for well over 10 years now. And just in general, as a previous business owner, as someone who has gone through a life where, I was a slave to my business, I learned how to get out of that loop where I wasn't thriving, or I was just surviving, and where I was in a state where, my business was sucking the life out of me. And so all of this experience that I've accumulated over time has now become wisdom within me. And I see that there's this pattern, underlying pattern that every single person shares. And I think this is much of the planet, actually. Most people on the planet share this. We are all stuck in this loop or in this mental trap of not knowing how to create abundance for ourselves, not knowing how to truly manifest things in a timely manner, not knowing how to live a life that is genuinely thriving. That is the foundational issue. And this is why I built a course around this, because so many people need this. So I decided to put together a program for my clients and for anyone that is interested, where I teach you how to become this 2.0 version of yourself. This is a process I personally went through, and that is why I have so much experience now in this area. And I've really figured out fundamentally what is important in life and what makes one thrive. And like I said, thriving doesn't necessarily mean millions. Thriving means that you're just in a very good place within yourself. You are financially comfortable. You have everything you need. All of your needs are met in every possible way. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. So I want to kind of break down a little bit. There's 4 key steps here that people don't quite understand or don't see very clearly. But there's 4 foundational steps that I've come to understand that people need in order to be able to create this 2.0 version of themselves. And the very, very first one is actually creating life balance. So creating life balance means that you organize your life in such a way that everything is just flowing and comes with ease. So nothing is forced, and you're able to take on, any stresses, anything that really comes your way unexpectedly. You're able to handle them with such ease because you have ease in your life in general, and because you have the right mindset to create that ease, to know better than to be reactive, right? It's more about responding to things instead of reacting to things. So organizing your life so that you know what you're doing each day to maximize your productivity and also to maximize fulfillment, actually, is extremely important. So that's one of the key steps that is really broken down in my program that I talk about. Also about creating time freedom. So learning how to create time freedom for yourself where you genuinely have time for everything. You have time for self-care and self-love and self-nurturing, but you also have time and you make time for family, for children if you have children. You have time for your partner if you have a partner, and you create quality time with your partner. It's also about managing your time effectively when it comes to your work, making sure that it's not out of balance, right? So life balance is the first step, is figuring out how to create a schedule that's really going to flow, that's really going to work for you, and that truly allots time for everything that is necessary in your life and everything that is important. Because the most important thing that I find in life is actually to take care of ourselves. So if I don't put any effort into my self-care, into self-love, and into giving myself what I truly need, I'm not going to be successful in my life, because that is the foundation. The key to everything is to really love yourself, take care of yourself in such a way that you are always able to show up in your best form, in your highest version. Because what happens when we're not in our highest version, or when we're not our best selves? How much do you have to give? Like next to nothing, right? You're tired, you're depleted, you're exhausted, you feel overwhelmed, you fall into procrastination, you fall into analysis paralysis, you fall into overthinking. So taking care of yourself is the first step to creating a life where you are that 2.0 version of yourself. So, and I'll get into the self-love a little bit more in just a minute, but first, it's about creating time freedom by learning how to work smarter, not harder, because that's something else I figured out too. I'm like, oh, you can actually do this. You can actually work in such a way where you don't need to put in an excessive amount of hours, and you don't need to, whip your own back or anything like that to get done the work that you need to get done. It's also about understanding the value of creating systems. So I break that down actually very specifically in the program, of the value of creating systems and how to create systems and what systems you need to create in order to create this really flowing, balanced schedule where you really genuinely have time for everything. It's also about learning to stick to a schedule, right? So a lot of us and a lot of people that I speak to have a really difficult time sticking to a schedule. Why? Mostly because they are distracted. Mostly because their mind is all over the place. They're kind of jumping from one thing to the next, constant distractions, right? So it's very difficult to stay on track, to stay on schedule if you're constantly distracted. I teach you how to organize yourself and how to organize your mind, how to calm your mind down so that you're able to really, really focus. Because focus is one of the biggest reasons why most people procrastinate. They procrastinate because they can't focus. And they can't focus because they're constantly distracted, or because their brain is so used to wanting that instant gratification, right? Because of social media. I'm going to say anybody nowadays that has a smartphone is basically completely addicted to dopamine. We have the scroll thing, right? And the dopamine hit you get from every single scroll, the newness of each video and the differentness of each video really triggers dopamine in the brain. So in order for you to reel that back in and actually reset your dopamine receptors in your brain, you have to do certain things to recalibrate. If you have focus issues right now and you're procrastinating on things that you know you need to get done, then just know that you're not going to be able to do that until you really truly figure out how to reset the dopamine in your brain. And efficiency. So life balance also has a lot to do with efficiency, right? And being efficient in everything that you do actually is so, so important. And I'm talking like being efficient with, how you sleep and how you work and how you play even. And, when you do things, like it all matters, it all ties in. And there's such a beautiful way to set up life where you really genuinely have time for everything. And even if you don't have a lot of money to begin with, and I talk to people about this all the time, like there's so many things that we can do that is around us and that is available to us. I feel like we're so blessed today. We have so many options and so many things that we can do. The different things that we need that quench that thirst within us, right? That satisfy us, that brings fulfillment. So fulfillment and efficiency actually go together quite a bit. Now let's talk a little bit about self-love. Self-love is another key foundation to becoming 2.0. It's how you actually become 2.0 is through self-love. Why you don't love yourself right now is really important to understand. And what I'm finding is just most people don't know how to love themselves. And that's for obviously various reasons, upbringing, childhood, difficulties, traumas, all kinds of different things people have gone through, right? But you have to learn how to love yourself. And I think the most important part of learning and the way that you learn to love yourself is by actually understanding who you are on a soul level, like on a very deep level within yourself. When you understand that, you're going to have a whole different perspective about loving yourself and caring for yourself. There's a lot of people that I've worked with that have had exponential inner child healing just by understanding this, because I taught them how to love themselves and I helped them to understand who they were on a very deep level. And once they connected to that depth within themselves, they were able to really, really see how valuable they are as a person, as a soul, as an individual here at this time, within their families. And it really shifted and healed a lot of their relationship issues, and particularly the relationship within themselves. And that's why I think this is so incredibly important. Like self-love is huge, huge. Like your life cannot move forward, it cannot thrive unless you love yourself. And unless you understand, who you are, because that's when you can really love yourself. Understanding what a self-care routine is and how to add it to your schedule. So that's another question that comes up a lot, and clients will ask me like, oh my God, like how am I going to squeeze in time for this and that? And I always tell people like there's always time. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. What is happening within your mind though is that you're not structuring that time appropriately. You're not doing things at the right time that gives you that maximum productivity. So you have to it's important to understand scheduling and how to actually create a schedule, how to put self-care within the schedule, because there are really great times of the day when you do certain things for yourself that really yield maximum benefit. And it matters, like timing matters. It's like doing a meditation first thing in the morning versus doing it in the afternoon. It matters. There's a difference. There's going to be a different outcome from doing a meditation in the morning versus doing it in the afternoon. So these are the kind of things that I kind of really break down, and there's all these like juicy details of how to actually do this. And that's what's built into the course. That's what I've put into it. Also, fulfillment. Okay, let's talk about fulfillment for a second. Fulfillment is one of those things that most people think that they're just going to live without. Like it's not really part of their norm. It's not a part of their family's norm or their lifestyle. But without fulfillment, what do you have? Like, what is the purpose of your life? And I will ask people that often, because a lot of people kind of don't know. They can't really, they don't have specific things in their life that truly bring them fulfillment. There's like such a disconnect within people, I find. And so this is why fulfillment is a big part of the self-love chapter within this program, because you have to understand fulfillment, what that really means to be fulfilled, and discovering what actually will fulfill your soul and your heart. Because there is a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of digging within the self that has to be done in order to discover that. So I get into that as well. Now, changing the mindset and your habits is another big, important piece of self-love. And this is by far one of those things that I've noticed with most people that I talk to, is that it's like their mindset's really messed up. It's really tweaked and sort of twisted. And they have very skewed perception of themselves and of the world around them. And so expanding that and opening that and looking at things from a much higher perspective. And by higher perspective, I mean by a more spiritual perspective. That spirituality is a huge piece of this program. So I really bring that in because that is the part where people are disconnected. So it's very, very important to understand that your lack of spirituality or your lack of connection to the spiritual aspect of yourself is what is causing a lack of fulfillment. It's what's causing a lack of understanding of who you are and a lack of connection to who you truly are. And then habits, of course, just identifying bad habits and how to overcome those bad habits, what things you can do to help alleviate them. And you can alleviate them very quickly, actually. So that's something I go into as well. And the last part with self-love is about clearing the clutter. So clearing the clutter is like full on clearing the clutter from the mind, clearing it from within the emotional body. So from your emotions, clearing out garbage emotions that you no longer need. Also from the physical body. So this is cleansing, detoxifying, and the importance of that. And clearing the clutter from the home. So from your environment. So it's a full internal clearing and a full external clearing that I break down and I talk about and I explain how to do these things and why. The next step, well, yes, this is step number 3 to becoming 2.0, is about personal power. So it's about how to reconnect to that personal power that we all have innately within us. We have just become extremely disconnected. Many people are very disconnected from their personal power. I also used to be very disconnected from that. So it's like I've been through the process of being disconnected and then understanding how to reconnect and then actually reconnecting. So that is the next big step to it. Now, when it comes to personal power, it's about learning how to set boundaries. Boundaries is like key, okay? Without boundaries, guess what you're going to be? You're going to be a doormat and you're going to be a people pleaser and you're going to be someone that is constantly, worried about all this external shit that is not even important and it doesn't even matter, instead of focusing on what you need and what you need to prioritize in your life. So when it comes to personal power, it's actually, I teach you how to reclaim personal power, how to learn to prioritize things in your life so that you can truly be in your power. It's about also rebuilding your confidence, because personal power comes purely from confidence. So that's a big one, actually. A lot of people have confidence issues. And if you don't fix your confidence issues, if you don't know how to identify what specific things are messing with your confidence, then it's very difficult to rebuild it, because it's like you don't even know what to rebuild. You don't even know where to start, right? So how to end procrastination, overthinking, and overanalyzing. That is also a massive part of personal power. It is something that I'm going to say 90% of the population suffers from, right? Analysis paralysis and procrastination. That all stems from a lack of confidence. So when you rebuild your confidence, then you're going to be able to really take back your personal power. You're going to stop procrastinating. You're going to learn how to take action. You're going to know when to take action and what kind of action to take on what to move your life forward. And the overthinking just kind of stops, because you really start to get out of your headspace and you start to move into your heart space, and you start living your life from your heart, not from the mind. Becoming unapologetic about your priorities is a big skill I teach a lot of people that I talk to. Because guess what? No one is going to prioritize your priorities, and it's not anyone's job to prioritize your priorities. It is yours. And learning how to become diplomatic but firm within yourself and with other people is very, very important, to make sure that you stay on track, to make sure that you're not falling off the wagon and that you're not wasting time and that you don't spend, excessive time in relapse, right? Just going back to old ways, old habits. So becoming unapologetic about your priorities is extremely important. Very, very important. Like I said, no one's going to understand your priorities like you will. Stepping into authenticity. So that's another piece of personal power, is actually authenticity. And it's very, very, very important for people to step back into the authenticity. Like, the planet craves it, okay? Humanity craves it on such a level. I see it all the time. There's so much fake in our world. There is so much illusion and delusion and idiocracy. Like, that all falls away when people become more authentic. When we start to realign ourselves to who we truly are, and we understand fundamentally that we are spiritual beings in a human body and having a human experience. And when you reconnect all of that essence within yourself, and you reconnect yourself to God, to spirit, to a higher power, then authenticity can really shine through. My spiritual journey has been a long one. And when I went through the dark night of the soul, which lasted quite a long time for me, that period of my life really taught me how incredibly important being connected to my spirit, to my heart, and to my soul is, in order for me to become authentic, in order for me to really just be truly myself. No masks, nothing, but just to show up as I am unapologetically. So that was a difficult journey, but one that was worth walking for sure. Like, hands down, like, the best thing that ever happened to me was going through Dark Night of the Soul, because it just woke me up to who I truly am. And that's why I want to share this with you guys. I want to help others to also wake up to who they truly are, because I think so many people crave this. So many people want to become a better version of themselves, want to learn how to create a life for themselves where they're truly thriving, where they truly become this amazing version of themselves, but they don't know how to do it. They have no idea what steps to follow and how to even start, or where to even start, right? And that's why I want to share this with you guys, because it's what is going to change your world. This is what is going to shift humanity, right? Becoming authentic again, becoming our real selves, becoming assertive yet loving and kind, and prioritizing and understanding who we are, and loving each other for who we are, accepting our differences. Like, this is what is going to make humanity evolve past this petty, greedy, disgusting kind of world that we're living in at the moment, and it's sad to say that, but it's true. It's very true. If you look out into the world, there are so many people that are struggling, who are actually good people. The way I see it is that 90% of the population on this planet are good people. They're just stuck in bad habits, bad patterns, and bad programming, and that's all it is. But fundamentally, they are good. Not all of them. There is that 10%, potentially even more, I'm not sure, but generally I find most people are good at their heart and at their core. Now, with personal power, the other thing is getting clarity on who you are, why you are here, and how you want to show up. So it's really, really important to have clarity on those things, because without it, like I said, you just end up being a follower. You just end up plugging in to everybody else's shit, everybody else's stuff, right? Because you don't know how to show up for yourself, how to show up in the world, right? You don't know how to be the authority of your life. So getting clarity on that is very important. And finally, a shift in perception. So personal power does not come without having an overhaul or a shift in your perception. So the way that you see yourself, the way that you see the world, the way that you see this planet, the way that you see your life, your family, everything. Like the perception has to shift, and it has to usually shift in a pretty big way, in a pretty radical way. But I show people all the time, and I shift people's perception all the time so easily with oftentimes just a single conversation. And it's just presenting ideas and perspectives that they've never considered, or that they never thought of, or that they've never been exposed to. So, people need guidance. Everybody needs guidance. I've needed guidance, and I've gotten guidance, a lot of guidance throughout my life. And that's why I'm now in a position where I am, and I'm able to share the wisdom and the knowledge that I have with other people so that they can also become this awesome version of themselves. And the final step in becoming 2.0 is the fourth step is creating financial freedom. How to create financial freedom for yourself, and how to do it in a way where you're doing what you love, where it is authentic, where it is true and real for you, and it's fun and it's exciting and passion is involved. So creating financial freedom truly comes from, or it comes through authenticity, actually, first and foremost, and serving others. Okay, so there's a big thing that people need to understand here when it comes to finances, how you make your living. And if you are somebody that is just, doing a 9 to 5, going to work every day and kind of doing whatever to get by, but there is like no passion connected to the thing that you're doing, there isn't any fulfillment, there isn't any true spiritual reward to what you're doing, or emotional reward to what you're doing, then you're not being authentic. Then you're not living an authentic life. You're not thriving. You're not doing what you could be doing. And that's simply because you don't understand who you are, what you are, and all of the things that I've already talked about. So understanding that money is energy is also a very important part of creating financial freedom for ourselves. And there's a whole big thing I get into about money and how to actually create money, and how money is truly an energy that can be manipulated, that can be controlled by you if you understand what you're doing, and if you know what practices to do, what time to do them, and how to do them, and what the key points are to when it comes to doing those practices. When you understand that, that's when you can really create the kind of money for yourself that you want and that you need for your life. Having clarity around and having an inventory of your natural gifts, abilities, interests, and passions is also extremely, extremely important. And that is something else that we're diving deep into when it comes to creating financial freedom. Without understanding that, you're not going to know what the heck you're doing. So, and the thing that I've noticed in all the years that I've been talking to people is when someone has tried to justify their 9 to 5, even though I knew they were unhappy, they even said that they were unhappy in their 9 to 5, but they try to justify it, then the reason why they were trying to justify it was because I could see that they were completely disconnected from their inner being, from their inner selves, from their true self, from that authentic self. And they were not connected to what their true passions were. They actually had no idea. It was crazy. So many people I've talked to have no idea what they're truly passionate about, what their innate gifts are, their abilities, and how they can use that to actually make money. Most people have no idea. I also talk about the importance of passion. So it's very, very important to connect passion into finances. Okay, the two have to go hand in hand, because that is the way that you create a thriving life. Without passion, you just have, boring work. Now, how you want to versus how you can serve are also something that needs to be identified. Because oftentimes people will come to me and sometimes will say, like, they have like big dreams and like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to blah, 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 blah. But then they don't have any plan whatsoever in place or any idea of how they're going to get there. So sometimes it's like they want to get to step 100, but they're like at step 1. And they don't realize that there's a bunch of steps in between that they first need to go through in order to get to step 100. So and maybe step 100 is where their goal is. And maybe that's where they're thriving and that's where they're in their like element. But you have to have clarity around getting there. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. You're just not going to get there. Also, understanding the legacy that you want to leave behind really ties in with creating financial freedom for yourself. So financial freedom actually is not just about money. It's not just about creating an income for yourself, but it's about like the legacy that you want to leave behind. How do you want to be remembered? And it doesn't have to be, by the world, but even just by your community, by your family, by the people around you. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want? And I always think of this, and I ask my clients this, if you were on your deathbed tomorrow, what would be the most important thing for you? Like, because when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to care about how much money you have in the bank. You're not going to care about what kind of stuff you accumulated or any of that. You're only going to care about, how did I show up? Was I real? Was I authentic? Was I a good person? Did I do everything in my power to live a truly balanced and happy life? Did I create happiness and joy for others around me? That is what you're going to be thinking about. So the legacy that you want to leave behind is extremely important to consider, because if you don't, one day, unfortunately, we will all be there. We will all be on our deathbed. And I don't want people, and I certainly don't, I know for myself, I don't want to lay there and be like, oh, I had all this stuff, but I was corrupt and I did all this shady shit in the background. Like, I could never live with myself ever. So for me, it's extremely important, and it's something Spirit has actually made me aware of, that it's very important to really, really, truly take time and have dedication to create a life that you're truly proud of. And you can only create a life that you're truly proud of is through understanding who you are and how you can show up. And it doesn't matter what skills and abilities you have, because a lot of people will get really hung up on that, or they think they don't have any skills and abilities when in fact they do. It's just about using them in the right way. But sometimes we need help, we need support, we need others to show us how we can use our abilities in the right way. And that too is a process I had to go through. I went from being a clinic owner and running a huge clinic with a lot of staff to now working for myself and helping the world that way. Because I discovered that if I don't manage a whole bunch of people and I just manage myself, I have so much more free time, and I'm actually able to give more to my community and more back to others than if I was bogged down with the nitty gritty and the paperwork and all the stuff that comes with running a business. So, it's really important to understand who you are, what you are, how you can show up, and how you can really benefit others, and how you want to feel. My God, that is like the most important part, is how you want to feel on a daily basis, and how do you want to feel on the journey, because the journey is what is most important, and how you want to feel when one day you are there, just about to face God, just about to pass out of this physical existence into the next realm. How do you want to feel when you're there? Do you want to feel satisfied? Do you want to feel fulfilled? Do you want to feel like, what? I did everything in my power to live a happy, healthy life. I loved myself. I took care of myself, and I did everything I needed to do. So the last 2 points here is creating the plan. And that is a huge part of this entire program. So I help you create a plan, a program, so that you can really become this 2.0 version of yourself. And how to do all of this by taking the path of least resistance. So many people overcomplicate every aspect of their life, of how to recreate their life. It doesn't need to be complicated. You just need to have a really good plan in place. And you need a guide. You need somebody to guide you through this process who has done what you're trying to do and has already gone through that process. So that's what Becoming 2.0 is truly all about. I hope you found this helpful, and I will have the program up very, very soon, opening for registration. I'm taking 10 students at a time. If you are interested in signing up for this program on how to become 2.0, description box will have all of the details for you. But that in a nutshell is what Becoming 2.0 is all about. So let's get it. I'll see you guys in the next one.